This is Musa again with another episode of More Football. And this time I have the pleasure to have Coach Patrick Dominique from Farnell Middle School and Sickles High
And
School
Sickles.
out of
Yes.
Florida. And today we'll do pretty much the same thing that we've been talking about in the past few weeks about high school soccer. They need to have a little bit more knowing not only in St. Louis, but across the U.S. And also to shed light also to some of the teams that are doing great things in the country that necessarily not get all of the highlight. So I'm very excited to have Coach Patrick on the line. Coach Jim has been saying a lot of good things about you, so it was almost time for us to meet. So how are you doing,
Thank you.
Coach?
I'm doing good. How are you, Mo?
Oh,
Nice to be here.
another day in paradise talking soccer, so I can't complain.
Good.
Awesome. So so the first thing, so we have the African Cup of Nations currently happening. So could you tell me a little bit of where you're from and if you do follow it, and if so, what country do you expect to do well and win it?
Definitely. So my background is my parents are from Haiti, and my dad taught me the love of soccer. And so I was born in Montreal, Canada. So my parents moved when they were 19 years old, and it's a cold country that loves hockey, and I grew to love hockey, but they put me in soccer at the age of 5, and I grew to love it. And then we moved to New Jersey when I was 9 years old, and I played throughout New Jersey and attended St. Benedict's Prep, a great soccer school where, I don't know if you know, Claudio Reyna, U.S. captain, Greg Berhalter, the current coach. They were all seniors when I was a freshman.
Nice.
So I'm watching the varsity team, and I'm in JV, and we train together. And so a lot of the tradition, the things that I do with my teams just came from that rich environment. And those guys were world class. So it was nice to learn and watch them play.
Wow. So you started from the very top of high school. That's one way to start.
Yeah. Right. I wasn't quite the player they were,
Hey.
but we had a great history of playing the best of the best at St. Benedict's. They're national champs, state champs, and they'll travel across the country to play anyone. So that's why I brought that to my high school experience at Sickles.
Nice. Yeah, and I've been quite impressed, especially when I started to do a lot more research by U.S. soccer. It looks like New Jersey is it's breeding soccer players out of nowhere. So it's quite surprising now. Now we know U.S. and Haitian out of New Jersey.
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah, and I think a fun fact about myself too is that actually lived in Montreal West also for about 2 years.
Okay.
So that's kind of those fun things. So do you also speak French or Creole?
Yeah, I speak French. It's French, Creole.
Ah,
I tried a little bit of Spanish, so I can dabble in some Spanish.
nice. Oh, très bien. Alors, moi, je suis français. Je viens de la
Je
France.
parle français très bien.
All right. Awesome. And Coach Jim did not tell me about this one, so I guess now we know.
Yeah. As far as your question about the African Cup, I always support those Nigerian teams.
Okay.
They're so good,
Yes.
and I'm a fan of Mohamed Salah, so Egypt.
I won't hold it against you, but I'm more Senegal, where all my parents and family are from. But
Got it. I understand. But beautiful soccer overall, though.
Yes.
It's very technical. It's very flowing. It's a lot of goal scoring, so I enjoy it.
Yes, and definitely now these days they've shown that every single game have had at least one goal, no draw. So it's a good one to
Definitely.
see. Yes, awesome.
Correct.
Yeah,
very competitive.
Absolutely, and I think one of those nice things that almost tied to the high school that I was mentioning here and the level that's not being shown. One of the players, I may have forgot where he's from, but he plays at the third level of Spanish soccer as a right back.
Okay.
But for his country, he plays as a forward, and he's the lead scoring goal scorer in the AFCON this year. So it sort
That's
of
amazing.
proves that, almost any level that you're in, if you're given the
Yeah,
opportunity, you can showcase your skills, which he's
correct. I
showing.
truly believe that as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
And which leading to that, so I recently spoke with Coach Eric from Jesuit
Yeah.
Prep, which is one of the private high school here. So knowing that they have also, that rich history of playing soccer level and have a little bit more of those opportunities. Because could you tell us a little bit more about your two middle school and high school, and all the titles that you have, and your
Well, I definitely wanted to I definitely want to give shout out to all my area high school coaches and programs because part of the Champions League
yes,
is playing these amazing teams, right?
yes,
So I want to make sure to let everyone know that we're rich in soccer in Florida, in our area, Tampa Bay area. So we have so many great teams like Steinbrenner, Eastlake, Palm Harbor, Mitchell, right? Durant, Newsom is an amazing team. Alonzo up and coming. So I take a lot of pride in playing those teams. And then you have some private schools like Berkeley Prep, Lakeland Christian, Tampa Catholic. So I try to build relationships and get to play some of these great programs. And it's an honor to have the game put together and then be on the field because I enjoy the competition so much, right? So I believe that the way the rankings are set up with things like that, it doesn't reward you playing these great teams, but I do it for my team. So I feel like we are so beneficial of playing the best of the best,
right.
reaching out because that's what I learned in my high school experience. It just helps the team. So the rankings will take care of itself. But it's like when we play the Lakeland Christian or East Lake, it's just a great competition. And those games are not usually scheduled by our district.
Okay.
So I spend a lot of time in my off season calling coaches, reaching out, and trying to schedule these games because that's what we did in my high
Yep.
school. So it's just do some research, find out who's good, and make a phone call. That's what I've been doing, and I mean it doesn't always work out, but we've done so well, and our girls are not afraid of anybody.
Right.
So that's what we get out of it, and the competition is so much more beneficial to play a good team than beating a team 14-0 that's not well.
Right.
So I think it just makes us stronger, and I give a lot of credit. I forgot Sun Lake as well. That's another great program.
Oh, yeah.
So they won the Champions League
Sure
for
did.
the
Yeah.
for the girls. So I try to follow these teams, and then when I know they're succeeding, I make a phone call or I try to email them, and not knowing what the outcome is going to be, but we love being in that competition.
Yes. And it's working, because I did hear your name from quite a few coaches in Florida, and especially the top 10 leagues and Champions League. So it looks like those
That's
phone calls
awesome.
and emails are working.
Yeah, that's awesome. I did see the interview with Jesuit
Yes.
coach, and he mentioned playing so many good teams in that Champions League, and that's why it's so exciting.
Yes.
You know, the draw and seeing who you're going to be going against, and then the actual games. And it's our second year in the Champions League, and I feel like we haven't gone to the Final Four, but we've done well each year. Right, the first year we led our group in goals.
Yeah.
This year we tied for first, but lost in point differential to Berkeley Prep.
Ouch.
So every year we get more motivated, and we were just decimated with injuries at the start of the season. And we feel like if we had all our players, we would be in that final. That's what we believe. But very well deserved. Sun Lake, Berkeley Prep, PHU, all those teams well deserved.
I certainly
Well
watched
deserved.
the semifinal and the finals, and it quite
Yeah.
competitive. So and you can,
Yeah.
it looks like a lot of those teams are very familiar to each other as well.
Yo,
So
yeah,
it's
I've played a lot of those teams, so
awesome. So yes,
a lot of fun.
so I guess maybe we may have jumped a little bit, but could you tell us a little bit about your playing days outside of high school? Was there anything else that you've played, or any memories of playing?
Mostly in New Jersey, played in the soccer leagues, Ironbound Strikers in New Jersey, and things of that nature. And I just grew to be a love of the game. And um, high school, I did St. Benedict's prep, and after that, I went to USF, but didn't play for USF. I made my studies in education. I became a teacher and started coaching at Farnell Middle School. Took over the girls program, and we've won 4 county championships. And then I was challenged to do the boys, and we're on our 3rd championship with the boys. So we got 7 total.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's exciting. And then a lot of those girls in middle school, they came to Sickles, and then we're able to win a Western Conference championship for high school. So it kind of carries over. But the one thing I know and I take proud of is that foundation at St. Benedict's is they had a motto, whatever hurts my brother hurts me. So it's like a family.
Right.
And everything you do, it's like one-minded kind of group and team, and we eat meals together. We're trying to make sure we have team events. We try to do some great functions, like they have a Christmas party at someone's house every year.
Yes.
And then we schedule these great opponents, and we travel to their field, and we try to give our girls the best experience. And that's what we learned from St. Benedict's. And of course, I see that in other program. I see that in Steinbrenner. I see that in PHU. I see that in Mitchell, Eastlake. So it's not just us, but we try to get the best out of every program we see. And I think I would be very foolish to not mention all our great competition. So it's really about our community. We have great soccer in this area.
Yes, and the more I'm doing research, it definitely shows that even a lot of the corners of the states do have their pockets. It's just depending on our regions, we don't really get to hear from those teams until it becomes nationally ranked, and that's when you see the top 10. So it's definitely the introduction of that Champions League. It's definitely one of those that kind of bring up a lot of the exposure.
Right, that's true.
Yes. So knowing that that with all of these activities, I understand that you also trying to plan showcase for your team and players. Could you tell us a little bit more about that? And
you mean the All-Star game or something of that nature?
Coach Jim had mentioned kind of a showcase for your players or local area kids.
We just had some rumbling talking between some of us, our coaches, about trying to create an all-star game in the future to represent all the players that are doing so well between Hillsborough and Pasco. So those one of the things. It's still in the beginning, so I won't say too much yet. It's nothing it's done yet, and I don't want to take credit for that. It's a group of us coaches that are trying to come up with a better product than what we've seen. And we love the game that's been happening, but we just have different ideas to maybe have a rotation of coaches that would coach the games, right? Yep. Selection process where it's not only seniors, because that game will go on with the seniors challenge. Yep. So we're just thinking of talking, and we're trying to see if we can come up with something that would involve all the players.
Sounds like Coach Jim was maybe too excited about it. So
oh yeah. He's a visionary, and that's great. I'm the same way, but we're such in the beginning stage, just having conversations. So I definitely would want to talk about it more once we have more things set in stone.
So we'll pencil that in for our calendar. Right. Yes, and so circling to Coach Jim. So I understand you also coach their his grandkids. Could you tell us a little bit more about how a little bit more about Coach Jim and how you guys have built such a friendship?
Oh, it's a great question. So Coach Jim is a legend in our area. So he was a coach at Carroll Day. He coached in the area. He had his Marauder soccer camp for years. So whenever I coach someone, they mention Coach Jim, and I did not meet him until we made the Champions League.
Okay.
And then we had that initial drawing, and we started talking, and he said, "Hey, wait a minute. You coach my grandsons, and you had some championships with them." So I coached his grandsons at Farnell, I didn't know this. So we were at the Rowdy Stadium, and we were just started talking, and I stayed a little bit after, and then we just kept getting more comfortable. You know, the passion is there, the love for people,
Yes.
the love for soccer. We just kept talking and just shooting ideas back and forth. And then my excitement of the Champions League, I would throw ideas by him, and he would just receive it so well and give me a platform to hear my voice. And other coaches are involved, other coaches. And then when I feel like a team is deserving to be in the Champions League but is not, I just push and I say, hey, this team is so good. You know, what are your qualifications to get into the Champions League? So of course it's district champs, it's the rankings, but sometimes you play a team and you feel like they're well deserved. So, you know, that's just my opinion.
And I think I may have heard a few of those where I think they have plans, or maybe certain teams meeting at a certain level after playoffs. So um
Correct.
it sounds like that idea is floating around. So
Yeah. Oh
that
yeah. And
works.
they're talking about other
Yeah.
counties, you know, and I know I just beat the drum for Lakeland Christian, but they're just a tremendous program, right? So we've been playing them for the last 2 years, and it's always at Lakeland Christian because we didn't have the funds to host the game. And the first time was 1-0. They scored in the last minute.
Nice.
And how did I find out about that school? I found that they had a 22 game winning streak. They won two straight state titles. I said, I want to play them. So then I reached out to the coach, and they were so welcoming and they were so inviting. And to this day, it's more one of the most welcoming, inviting environments. Beautiful setting, scenery, beautiful stadium. It's pretty much for kind of a football stadium, but it's just tremendous, tremendous competition. So we went up there this year, and then the outcome wasn't in turn to our favor. But they promised to come to Sickles next year.
There you go.
So I just want to keep talking about these programs that are just so good, and we probably won't know about them unless we reach out, play them, we invite them to tournaments. Um, it's just a tremendous. I can't tell you what that experience has done for our girls, confident wise, right? So if you know a team is a state champ and have won so many games in a row, and you can compete with them, there's no game that they fear.
Yeah, and definitely.
So that's what I've been able to do, win or lose. It's that being able to mentally face that. Oh, we can play with anyone, right?
Yeah,
And the outcome is not always on our side,
and you
but
can
it's
definitely
that.
see that in other teams, even the pros, where you see, the
Yeah,
lower level teams, once they play the top team, their level just quadruple just because of the occasion. So
correct, correct.
definitely nice. Yeah, and
Yeah,
and that kind of ties it nicely with the Champions League. It looks like where it's not just your class champs that play each other.
mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, and I just also you got to give credit to Palm Harbor, right?
Yes.
So when they had the drawing, everyone at the drawing said, "Oh my goodness, they're in the group of death," right? It was just loaded with teams. You know, Newsom. I mean, they might win states this year. So you had Newsom, you had Palm Harbor. I believe they had just a couple other powerhouses, and they came out with that group, and so they went to the finals 2 years in a row.
All right.
So I reached out to Coach Randy and congratulate him, and then I said, "You owe me a game." So now I'm going after Palm Harbor, right? So we just want to make things happen of that like that. We watch what teams do, and they when they succeed, we want to play them.
Nice. And
So
then after that, pretty much everyone benefits because the whole region then benefits because now you have very well versed
correct,
players all across the
correct.
state versus a handful.
Yes, yes, exactly. And I think what we get also out of the Champions League and just the way we are is it's not just two teams and two coaches across that never meet. So we build relationships with these coaches. We share ideas. We grow the sport. That's one of the biggest things. So I would just want to say I'm close to Coach Shannon Aiken at Steinbrenner and Chris Castro at Mitchell, Nikki Porter at Bloomingdale, Tim Hill at Alonzo is just Randy Irick at Palm Harbor. So you build these relationships, right? And then it just grows the sport.
Yes.
And then when you say, hey, let's try to put together an all-star game, let's try to play at our house, and then great soccer ideas just start to flow.
Excellent.
So, and then who benefits is is the students, is the players, it's the, it's them. So
Excellent. So yeah, and one of the big things that I saw it kind of like also about the Champions League was that it kind of takes given opportunities to the kids that do play high school, private or public, to have more of like a championship like experience and increase their exposure. I guess myself was kind of fortunate, to be able to play club soccer and move on. So what would you say is one of those things that, Champions League or the relationship that you've built with other coaches across the state? How does that benefited, your group and any public schools around Florida?
so first, what we as coaches, I speak for myself, is we support the players first, right? So then we come in with the challenge of that they're going to be playing club as well.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
So there, a lot of the players are playing club ECNL, whether it's Premier, whether it's ECNLR. Well, they're playing club soccer at the same time that you're playing your
Hmm.
season. So you have to balance practice. You have to balance their tournaments. You have to balance their showcases, injuries, their health, like academics. So what we've done with Champions League is we've allowed the sport to become important, right?
Yep.
So you cannot have a coach say, well, the high school game is insignificant or it's no competition there. Well, Champions League and kind of like puts that to bed, right? Because you have the best of the best playing each other. And soccer in general in high school is a high level soccer. And I speak for myself again and say that we support the clubs. We want the clubs to succeed, right? I started out at FC Tampa
Okay.
coaching club soccer, and then went to Farnell. So we want the best for the clubs too. So we got to find a right balance where they're supporting us, and in the end, the players are benefiting from that. And so what I've done is I've been able to accept when they have a tournament, when they have a showcase, and then it helps me develop my other players, right? The younger players. We started out the first 5 games with mostly freshmen, mostly inexperienced
Oh,
players, but I could say now I could see the development, and now some of the players are pushing for starting position. They're enhanced our backups as far as our bench. So what Champions League helps us do is get exposure and maybe have that player advocate for themselves and say, I want to play in that high school game, you know?
yes.
And so it makes it important. So, but we want to be working relationship with the club coaches as much as possible because that's not going away, right?
No, no.
And they're play, a lot of the players are really good players going through that club system, that club level. So we support them. So we just got to find that right balance where it works for both of us and not have negativity and, you know,
Oh, yeah.
disagreements going back and forth. It's a big challenge.
Oh,
So,
yes. Being
yeah.
in that world, it's interesting, and I think maybe it looks like on your team you have a mixture of those players, which probably introduce a new challenge, where some other schools may have no maybe one or two of those players,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
the rest typically do not gain that same exposure because they don't have the club platform behind them as
Correct.
others. So that's what kind of got me a little excited about the Champions League and others because it's growing up in France, it shows that the system that we grew up on was that, even though we could afford the clubs, but if you were good enough, I'll put that in quotes, to make it to a academy, then after that, those charges will pretty much be taken care of. So it's
That's a great,
so it's kind
great
of
system.
yes, but and I think it's one of those systems where it's the um they bet on the player to go either pro or even become a coach um, on
Correct.
the end versus, the upfront cost of things.
Yeah, lots of opportunities. It's a different system here that definitely needs to be looked at and maybe make some modification changes and to help the sport grow in our country. But
It's a
yeah,
long
we
conversation on that part.
yeah. Yes, there it's a tough one. So yeah.
Excellent. And so one thing I think I may have forgot to ask. So, how did you start about coaching? The transition from playing to coaching.
So ironically, when I became a teacher, I started at Farnell Middle School when the position for the girls came up and opened up, and I started coaching there. And prior to that, I coached at FC Tampa under George Arroyo. And ironically, he's the former Sickles high school coach. So I was his assistant for a while at FC Tampa, and then I started building my program at Farnell, and um, I recognize a lot of the coaches in high school now that I went against in middle school, and
Right.
so it's just that love. I will take any position that will grow um, the love of the game, and so I also was an assistant at Alonzo High School, Chamberlain High School for a year. Uh, and then once my kids were born, I had to quit the club because I just couldn't do all the traveling and the volunteer time that I put into that soccer experience was tough with two little ones. So from Farnell, once that position came open at Sickles, interviewed, there were a lot of coaches. And one of the things that I said is that I promised that I was going to have all the girls have high academics, and then that one day Sickles will be known around the the state for their success academically and on the field in class, and it's a vision, right?
Yeah.
So this is my fifth year. In that third year, we won the Western Conference Championship, and we've been in the Champions League 2 years in a
Yeah.
row. So now we're poised for districts. So we want to make sure we add district championship to that. And last year in the playoffs, we were a minute away from that Final Four in the state.
Ouch.
So it's just a great experience. And what I get out of it is every year you learn something,
Yep.
right? Every experience fuels you for the next one. Every disappointment prepares you
But
for that bigger challenge. So I tell the girls every time we fail, every time we don't meet our goals, we got to learn from it. We take that challenge, and it just makes us better. And we're poised this year to have our best season ever at Sickles, and we started 0-5 because of all the injuries, right?
yeah.
So we started 0-5 with all the injuries, and through those injuries, I kept telling the vision, keep that vision, visualize what's going to happen in the future, and so we scored the fifth most goals in the state in all classes,
Nice.
third most goals in 6A. So we have a lot of success and still have two district games to go, state playoffs, and then once you get there, anything can happen,
Oh yes.
right?
So
Because our region
playoffs.
has East Lake, Mitchell, Sun Lake, Lando Lakes. It's brutal.
It, it's for,
So that's really that's a toss up of what's going to happen there, and you first have to give respect to your opponents, and we do that. We feel like our region is just loaded with talent and great coaches, great teams, and we're honored to be in that environment, and we would like to play the best of the best and just get through and see what happens.
uh, from what I've seen American sports when it comes to playoff, it doesn't matter how you start; it's how you
Right.
finish. So, um,
It's definitely how you finish, and we know that we have a lot of great opponents that are going to be looking for us, and we're not hiding anymore behind anyone because now they know,
yeah,
right?
yes.
Sickles is going to come to play, so we'll definitely get everybody's best. And last game we played against, I would say mention Durant, it ended up a 2-2 tie, and the coach said thank you. That was great preparation for the playoffs.
Nice.
It was just an amazing
Yeah,
game, right? Amazing game. It was our third game back to back consecutive, and that's what it's all about.
it's good to hear
It's
the
that
camaraderie
respect.
between coaches too. So it's
Yeah, it's that respect factor that we have for everyone, and we know that there's so many good teams out there, so it could go either way. So we're prepared for the results, right? Whatever happens, I want them to play their best, um, show their identity, and take pride in what you do on the field.
excellent.
Yeah.
Yes. So, and I think the last serious question, I guess I will ask. So any players that you watched growing up that you wanted to emulate or play like?
Wow, there's a lot.
We'll give what three?
I can give you top
Top
five. I
five. All
say
right, let's go. Yeah.
let's say Patrick Kluivert,
Okay. Yeah.
striker for Netherlands. Batistuta from Argentina. Ronaldinho. You have, if you're talking about center mids, Luis Enrique from Barcelona and Spain, just such a creative magician. And of course, you can't forget Maradona. So
Nice. So
I
you,
just, I just, I just, I just like that center mid, and I like the strikers.
and almost name
Although I was
all
a
of the players
defender
that
in
actually
high
dance
school.
with the ball at their feet. So
Right,
yeah.
right. But I was a defender in high school, so that shows you, right?
Uh, it's I play defense too, so you got a little bit of that envy of playing um
Correct,
to those in
correct.
the middle, and we were not allowed to do that much of that dribbling because for us
Right.
the ball might end up in the net more often than not.
Yep, yep,
Yes,
yep.
I'm right there
And I
with
one more I wanted to add, Riquelme from
for
Argentina. Juan Ramon Riquelme is just beautiful passer of the ball. So you just have so many influences that I look at that position as the number 10 is just very central to your attack and controlling the midfield. And so every coach has a style they want to play.
yes,
So I have a style and identity. So that's how I set up my team, my players, and it's exactly from your question, right? Who did you idolize?
yes,
What team did you want to emulate? So we want to be a ball control possession type team. So we play that. We try to be as technical as we can be, and that's our goal, right?
awesome. So yeah, so but definitely would have to look out for that one. Um,
Yeah.
so I think so now more of general question. So was there I guess a country that kind of you always cheer for outside of your home country if in the World Cup, for example, if um
So I'm the biggest fan of the men's USA national team.
okay,
That's not number one, right? I remember Korea getting up at 4 in the morning watching that. I watched Claudio Reyna because I know that he went to my school, right? So
extra
that's
motivation.
number one.
Yes.
That's number one. But then I just really love the way Spain plays soccer with their possession. That's I just love that the way the passing is. It's crisp. It's accurate. It's on the ground. It's possession. It's beautiful. So Spain is one, and then I told you
Yes.
Nigeria
Yes.
is one of those great countries that I watch.
Any favorite player
So
from Nigeria?
yes. Oh gosh, what is Ochoa?
Oh yes.
He's another number 10, but that's back in the day, right?
Oh yes. And so you said Joji Okosha was mine too.
Okocha.
Yes.
Yeah.
Especially because I grew up born and raised in France, so we
Okay.
lived close to the Parc des Princes. So growing up, JJ Okosha was like the player in
Yeah, Okocha.
PSG.
Yeah, he had number 10.
Yes.
He's in the middle of the field and just that distributor, right? That's my style,
Yes.
right? I love all the number 10s.
I
So
kind of figured now.
that's my style. So Claudio Reyna is that typical 10 in that midfield for USA back in the day, and I see all my teams have to have that 10.
Okay. It never hurts.
Right, that's my style. So
Excellent. So yes, so just I'm sorry.
creativity is more my thing.
And we
Yeah.
these days maybe like a little bit of it for a lot of teams around the world. So
Right,
definitely it
right.
does help bring the love of
Correct. Correct.
excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as we closing out, is there anything that you wanted to share or thanks or anyone um you know the floor is
Pretty
yours.
much the when we talk about high school soccer, it's about the players. So I would like, first of all, thank you for what you're doing, but I would like to have more of the players being showcased and highlighted and talked about. Yes, our job as coaches is important, but without those players, we're nothing, right?
Yeah, there.
So when I thought about that All Star game that we wanted to do, is because I admire players on my team, and then I admire players on other
Yep,
teams.
it's fair.
So, and one of the, and every, like, I could think of all the players and teams that I've played. I mean, you're like, wow. I mean, this player is amazing, right? And so, a particular one was at Tampa Catholic we just played, and she was just terrific. She was just a terrific player, and she's a senior going to, I think, a school in North Carolina. I don't remember the school
Yep.
right now, but she was just like a terrific technical great player. So I don't know if I'm allowed to say names, but
No,
we
that
have.
we're this connection is to promote anyone in high school playing it. So
Okay,
yes.
so her name is Bella Murphy
Yep.
from Tampa Catholic. Was an amazing player. Then there's Jolie Farmer that I played against. Then Leah Pitts from Steinbrenner. So apart from your players, you kind of admire the other players that you play, and you say, "That's a really good player." Of course, I love my players first, right? I have great players on my team, and I would definitely honor them. Danielle Musri is a great player. We have a lot of amazing Michaela Wilkerson, but I admire when I see other players on other teams. So there should be a place where we're promoting players from other teams,
Yes.
and it's about them first. You understand? And of course, it's the team, right? We never want to forget the team, and that's number one. But when we talk about talent, we should uh, recognize those players who are very talented and doing great things and going to college and volunteering their time outside of school and get 4.0 grade point
And it's
averages. It's
that's
amazing,
definitely
right?
impressive for student athletes. Yeah.
So impressive. I'm like, how
Yep.
do you do club, high school,
Yeah.
and then have a 4.0 GPA? It's just that dedication, that commitment, time management, character,
Yep.
right? It's always about character first for me. So yeah, so I just want to find a way if we can promote these players. The All Star game is a great idea for that, but if just things like that, podcast, and maybe interview players,
Yeah. That's in the
give them
works.
give them a moment to shine,
Yes.
do a player of the week, and then I think there's an online player of the week that we vote for. But definitely, if we promote those players and athletes, because after when the season ends, I tell my seniors, enjoy the moment, right? Enjoy the last
It
home
goes
game. I said,
fast.
please look around you, smile, enjoy this moment because it goes so fast. What happens after 4 years? They're not all guaranteed to play
Yep.
college. Some of them become students. Some go to military. Some go join the workforce. So enjoy that moment. But if we gave them that little spotlight during those years, that's something they would cherish for the rest of their lives. So that's my thing.
Yeah, and that's definitely what
Okay,
we're also
players.
doing at the same time. And I think what it helps with a lot of, when you know that you have a local kid that actually has
Mhm.
moved up and has done something big, that kind of add a little bit of the motivation for a local kid. Like
Right.
yourself, when you saw that you had those U.S. men national team that were seniors and you were freshmen,
Yeah.
that's like, hey, I can do that too. So
Correct.
it
Correct.
certainly
Correct.
helps quite a lot. Yes.
Yeah. No. And it helps you kind of set your path
Yes.
because a lot of the things that I saw, I keep to myself, like secrets of success that they passed along. And there's this kind of thing I call recipe for
Mhm.
success, and then you kind of see it at and on my teams, and so I cherish that.
Yes.
So why can't we pass that along to the players as well, right? And let those players pass it on to the younger players. And I tell my seniors, please pass something along to the younger players to carry over. And that's what it's all about. Without those players that I idolized in high school, I wouldn't be the coach that I am.
Yes.
So,
And that's pretty much how I see it. And you know,
yeah.
celebrate those that come before you, after you, and it's all
Mm-hmm.
it all benefits not only the sports in the country but then locally. So that's what I started to work with Coach Jim, was to kind of bridge that gap as well. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm here in Missouri, St. Louis, which is far from
Rich in
Florida.
soccer.
Um,
They're rich in
yes,
soccer, though.
yes. And I do spend quite
Missouri.
a lot of time in Sanibel Island and Fort Myers area. So,
Mm-hmm.
and I
Mm-hmm.
think I'll be making a few trips to Florida to watch Miami FC
Awesome.
and the
Mm-hmm.
Rowdies play. So I do
Yep. The
spend
Rowdies are great.
a lot of time in Florida, but now it's time to kind
Okay.
of help bridge across those states line. And
Correct.
I'll be working with
Correct.
Coach Jim here on the St. Louis Champions League side.
Correct.
So
Yeah. So that
yeah,
big vision, I think, that Jim has is to have a national
that
where
yes.
Champions League is all over the country. And I see that can happen.
He's
It's
working
done
hard.
wonders for our, yeah, it does wonders for our high school season. It's been great competition.
Yes, and the fun thing was that now that I talked to some of the coaches in Florida, and I do know quite a few coaches from St. Louis, so now they're actually starting to kind of hear about other teams, and maybe in the future that they would like to play teams from across,
Yeah.
because you only get to play them if you get on the national stage. That's where you see the
Correct.
top one, but
Correct.
there's some very good
Correct.
teams that just couldn't that just got beat by the other team and did not make it nationally. But I will do
Right.
some very good games.
Oh my
So
goodness, that just brings me back to high school. Like definitely, St. Benedict's in New Jersey would go look at Ohio team and say that team's number one in the nation. Let's schedule a game with them. Pennsylvania, I remember all those travels. That's why I got that from. So,
yeah, so hopefully
and it's great soccer.
hopefully Jim makes it happen. And now
Yeah.
it's Florida, now it's St. Louis, Tampa, now
Mhm.
St. Louis. And I do see that they're working with
Miami.
other cities. So
Mhm.
it's going to be quite interesting.
Yep, I appreciate
Yeah.
it. Yep.
Excellent. So Coach Patrick, definitely appreciate your time. Best of luck to both of your teams. Hopefully
Thank you so
more
much.
trophies. I won't hold the Nigeria too much, but Haitian, I think, and I grew up with a lot of Haitian around me, and all of them are
Okay.
pretty much considered like moms, brothers, and sisters. So,
Right.
um,
Right. Right.
so we're at the end, we're almost all tied to each other. So,
Correct, correct.
um,
So Nigeria is because of the past, right?
yes.
I grew up watching them. I
Oh,
don't know how great they are now.
they're doing okay, even during the
Oh, the
AFCON.
women's did well in the World Cup. The
Oh,
women's team did very well in
yeah,
the World Cup.
they're next
Yeah,
level. Yeah.
that England game was great.
Yes.
So
So it looks like
yeah,
the progression. We're just celebrating African soccer now, and they're
exactly.
showing some well. So I definitely appreciate the time, and I think I won't take too much more of it. But best of luck, and I'm sure we'll talk very soon.
Thank you so much, and I just want to make sure to promote our area soccer. It's amazing, Pinellas, Pasco, Hillsborough. So thank you for having me.
Excellent. Thank you, and have a good one.
You take care. Bye.